Good afternoon and welcome to Crossroads. Do you know what I didn't do? I didn't put the live on. Oops, dear me. Anyway, good afternoon. I hope everybody is enjoying themselves on this Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday, yes. The sun is out there. Anyway, I hope everybody is well. I am waiting for Paul Campbell, and we're going to be talking a bit about Elvis and a little bit about politics today. So hopefully he will be on very soon, and I hope everybody is well and doing okay. If you've got any messages or you want to say Happy Easter in the right hand column, in the comments, I'll be so grateful. Anyway, so also um, tonight we're doing wind ups again. You know, we do a little bit of wind up and do games and everything. So if you know somebody who needs winding up a bit, let me know and we will sort that out too. Anyway, in the meantime, we'll wait for our guest and he'll be here shortly. So anyway, all right, guys. So if you've got any messages or anything in your right hand column, we're going to be talking to Paul Campbell today. He has he's an Elvis ETA, but also he does a lot with he is now a councillor for UKIP. UKIP. So I want to ask Paul a few questions about UKIP, and um, then we're going to talk. We'll be talking about is Elvis. Yeah, about Elvis and what he's doing for ETA stuff and everything else like that. So tune in. We're just waiting for him now. Hopefully he'll be with us in a minute. And yeah. So I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody's doing okay.
I'm a physicist, and 15 minutes is very, very imprecise. Whose time?
So we're just waiting now for Paul Campbell. Hopefully he'll be on very soon. In the meantime, watch this.
How fast are we moving? The whole thing is very undefined. So I'll leave it to you. When you've had enough of me, start to say boom. Then I'll shut up.
I'm starting the stopwatch now.
Now.
Ready, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a round of applause.
Great. Now we start off light-hearted.
Nobody's gonna know.
We're
calling the town. When Dad says he's
very, very busy, and I have been extremely busy because leadership contest took out 5 or 6 weeks of my life. We run multiple businesses. So that's what I actually scribbled my notes on. It's a bit of continuous roll stationery from a standard dispenser. Now, actually, the most important things in history are often decided in this way, friends. For example, how many of you know what Operation Husky was?
Hello, Paul. Hello. No sound.
Okay, I'm all right, Steve. You hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Right, I've had a little bit of trouble with installing properly.
Yeah, thank you
Okay,
very
how are you,
much.
Steve?
I'm okay. Thank you very much for joining me, Paul. I see that you're a UKIP kind of candidate now for your area.
Yes. I've much as I've got mostly known as an Elvis singer and an entertainer around South Wales, I thought I'd get involved with. I've always been very political. I've always loved politics, and with the Senedd elections coming up now in May, I decided to stand as a candidate in the Cardiff and South Wales central area. So it's Cardiff and takes in the Ron, the Cynon Valley, what have you. So it's just something I've always been interested in, and yeah, I'm hoping just to have a bit of enjoyment, but also there's an opportunity I could become an MS, which is a member of the Senedd, which is the Welsh Assembly. And there's lots going on.
You were saying about that you want to become a member of the MS, the Senate, but weren't you at one particular time against the Assembly?
Yeah, it's a strange thing, politics in Wales is a little bit different to in England. Now, there's lots of going on in the local elections in England as well, with council elections. But in Wales, we have a devolved parliament. So that means Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland have their own parliaments, which they control a lot of what goes on in the country. So the Welsh Parliament sits in Cardiff, the Senedd is called, and yeah, it's been going now for 21 years, and there's a bit of a sort of debate goes of whether it has actually done any good and whether we would have been better. We're still very much linked as part of the UK to the Westminster Parliament, and of course, lots of the funding comes from England, and we at UKIP, and there are other parties as well who believe that it's not always been great for Wales having this devolved assembly. And really, in a lot of ways, it's just been a waste of money. It's not achieved a lot. And certainly, when you look at some of the statistics and figures, it is questionable. But then a lot of people like the idea of Welsh people being able to control their own local issues. And it goes all around the country as well, even up in the north of England. There are a lot of people who feel that there should be a parliament just purely for the north of England. Or even in Cornwall, I know Cornish people. They've got an idea of independence, haven't they, Steve?
Yeah. I'm not talking about Cornwall at the moment or the north. What I'm kind of like asking you, Paul, is that about the kind of like the area that you're in, and that in Wales, and about the question about what I was reading was that you were against the Assembly, the Welsh Assembly.
Yeah, well, it's strange. I know what you're saying. Is I'm against it, but I'm standing to be part of it. I can see what you mean.
Yeah, can you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, and it is a bit of a sort of it's a strange thing. There's another party going now, which is actually they call themselves Abolish the Welsh Assembly, and they are standing candidates with just one policy one thing in mind, and that's to abolish the Welsh Assembly. Now, when you say you want to abolish the Welsh Assembly, or we want to scrap the Welsh Assembly, what we're saying is we don't want to scrap the identity of Wales, and Wales is a separate country in lots of ways, with our own culture, our own ways of life. And we need to have local government. So I think local government is important, where the people in a certain little area, be it Cardiff, Swansea, Newport, or even boroughs of Cardiff, have control over what goes on in a little area. Now, there's an opportunity. What we feel is that there could be much more localized representation for the people, where people, say in Cornwall or Devon, they have power, but not ridiculous power where they spend days and days talking about major issues which they have got no control of. And the Senedd in Wales has become a bit more of a talking shop, a bit of a sort of full of hot air, where people just talk for days and days about issues. And you have to say more could be done by localized representation, where people have
but
more power.
aren't UKIP and the rest of the government, or like Conservatives, Labour, and all that lot? Don't you think they are doing that already? Because it's like me. If I went for like Devon, say, like for an MP for Devon, my area or my responsibility will be for Devon, and your area will be for Central Wales. So, aren't we been doing that for a long time anyway?
Well, I'm fairly new to politics, to be honest, and I've been involved with UKIP, and UKIP is 2017 party. I'm standing in Cardiff because that's where I'm from. I'm a Cardiff bloke.
Yeah.
Born and brought up in a lot, and I'd be very much concerned. What there's two ways of looking at it. You do very much represent the people in your constituency, and so I would be talking an awful lot in the Senedd, if I'm successful, about local issues, about things such as the M4 relief roads coming into Wales. I'd be talking about housing and education, the important matters, the NHS, and performance of how we can improve them for the local people. But you always keep a national perspective as well, and you look at how you.
Okay, Paul. But in Wales alone at this moment in time, there's 23,563 empty homes in Wales. What is UKIP doing about that then?
Empty houses, I suppose a lot of them will probably
council houses.
Council houses.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them might be holiday homes owned by a lot of English people.
It's council house.
Well, council houses, there's a drastic shortage of council housing in Wales, as there is all around.
It's not, is it? It's not really, because there's 23. I just said to you the number, and what's happened is that what's got to be done is that they've got to be fixed up, and people who are waiting on the list, like we've got in England, can kind of like eventually have a council place to live, because the government are spending so much money at the moment on putting people into temporary accommodation and also B&Bs. Where you live in Wales at the moment, there is in Porthcawl, actually, there's 44 people who's waiting for housing, and they're in temporary accommodation in Porthcawl.
Yeah, there is a lot of people who are waiting. There's a massive waiting list on council houses. It's not just in Wales, in Porthcawl or anywhere. It's around the UK, and there is a dramatic lack of council houses. Now, we believe that council houses are very important, that everyone should have a roof over their head. It's just a fundamental fact of life. You need a roof over your head, and nobody should be living out in a street or in a tent. But we do believe in giving people the incentives to improve their lives by getting work, and by eventually owning their own house. And council houses should always be a safety net for people, not a long-term thing. I think most people want to own their own house, don't they, if they can. If you can't work for some reason, if you can't have an income, then obviously you need help from the state. But really, we should encourage people to aspire to own their own house, and we would certainly always look at policies where we can give people a step into the housing markets, and so that people. I mean, ultimately, we need to build more houses in this country. In Wales and England, there are not enough houses in general, not just council houses.
No,
And I think we should have a big program of building houses, but not essentially council houses, but houses for people to own. And sometimes you pay. I mean, rates. The amount of money you pay for your council house now is quite high, isn't it? Some of the rental for council houses you're paying. It wouldn't be much more in often to pay a mortgage on a small home, especially with assistance where you can have like the right to buy scheme, sort of housing association help. So I think aspiration to own a house is important. But yeah, everyone should have a roof over their head. And putting people up in buildings is a waste of money.
Yeah, the trouble is, so Paul, the trouble is what's happening is at the moment is when people go for private accommodation, the council says to these people, and I've been there, and they go to these people and they go, right, you've got to find a private accommodation. So you go for private accommodation, and if you haven't got enough money, they ask you to pay a deposit for like a month's deposit. So you're looking for around about £800 before you even. And the trouble is, some people can't afford that.
No, this is
you're probably saying to me now, well, if they can't afford that, Steve, they probably can't afford their rent.
Well, no, people sometimes need a helping hand, don't they, Steve? Sometimes life's been tough, things have happened. It could be, a divorce or a death or an illness. And sometimes people need, this is why, I mean, Britain is a very tolerant and generous country. I know sometimes some people like to talk about Britain as being cruel and talk about conservatives or parties like mine, like you, being ruthless and cruel. But no, we always believe that people need a helping hand occasionally, and there's got to be a scheme. Now, if someone's got to find £800, it's just not possible, is it? So there's got to be a scheme really where you could pay like £50 a month or something to get to that stage. As long as people don't exploit the system. The problem is people will exploit any system which is too generous. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen cases of that, Steve, where people have they've gone into houses and council houses, they've not paid their rent and they've trashed the place. And that's the problem, is you have to balance it out with people who are genuine, who aspire to better. Genuine people who are on hard times deserve to have help. People who are lethargic and do not want to work and who are not prepared to help themselves, that is difficult. And certainly there's differences.
But is it work out there, Paul? Is it work out there for people?
No.
You can say that, you can say this, but is it work out there for people?
It's not so much the work. I think it's work there. It's the quality, isn't it, Steve? The low pay. This country, unfortunately, we have jobs there, but they're all so many low-paid jobs and people who are on low wages sometimes think, well, I'm better off not working, just having benefits, because especially if you're paying bus fare and what have you. So really, we need to get jobs. We need good, well-paid jobs where people.
Okay, I am a while back when I did television. I don't really want to go into the past. A while back, when I did something with Channel 5, it wasn't filmed. They stopped it all. And what it was, I had to prove something to them because I was classed as a scrounger in the papers, right, on benefits, right. Now I couldn't work, I couldn't do nothing. I was medically unfit. But what I did was I said to them, look, there's no jobs at all, and I proved to them that if I got off my backside and went out there and find work by self-employment, may I say, self-employment, anything, you can make anything work. So what I did was I went out there and I knocked on people's doors, phoned them up and said, look, I'm starting my own cleaning company up. Do you want some cleaning done? And I got the work, and it was very successful.
Good.
Okay, it was very
Yep.
successful from that. But the trouble is these days is when people go out there and they can't find work, they set their own companies up, but there's no finance for them.
Well, this is the problem. I mean, if anyone who's got the get up and go to start their own business is brilliant, and they should be encouraged, and there should be startup schemes where people are assisted. You know, people who've
Yeah,
got good
yeah,
ideas.
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you probably yourself, Steve, you know people who could work, but they choose not to because it's just why should they? For they probably earn about an extra £10 more a week by working, and we should have the incentive for people to work
Of course,
by
yeah.
making jobs pay well. We shouldn't have jobs on £9
Mm.
an hour.
So why,
Where
so why you, so why UKIP? I want to get past this quick because I want to talk about ETAs. But
yeah,
why UKIP, and what can you, when you do get into office or when you
yeah,
do start, what
yeah.
are you doing? What are you going to do to help your people in Central Wales?
Yeah. All right, good point. Good question. And of course, yeah, I mean, the elections are on May the 6th, and UKIP's got a chance of getting representatives there. And if there's a voice there for UKIP, I mean, if UKIP are not going to win the election, and it's going to be a close race in Wales between Conservatives and Labour. But as personally for myself, as if I'm there, I would have a voice for working people, for the traditional working people who I think have been forgotten in a way in Wales and the north of England, parts of the south as well, where the Labour Party has been very much in power in Wales, and they've drifted away from the working man. The working man in Wales used to be the traditional miner, steel worker, and Labour was always their second home where they would put their votes and they would put their trust. But now the Labour Party in Wales is more a bunch of politically correct elitists. The establishment in Wales, it revolves around a sort of elitist, sort of cosmopolitan sort of group who are more in common with Llandaff than Llanbraddock, where they see themselves in a little cabal in Cardiff, and they're aided and abetted by Plaid Cymru. The Conservatives don't
No.
all.
What I'm trying to say, Paul. What I'm trying to say, you're a good man. I like you. The trouble is, I don't want, I don't want you to go around the marble brush about other people. I want to ask you, ask Paul Campbell, what are you going to do as a UKIP, right? As a UKIP member, if you
Yeah.
get voted in?
Okay. Well, we would fight every opportunity. We would fight the woke agenda that stems from the Welsh Senate. So, in terms of the economy, we would certainly we would encourage investment in jobs and good jobs coming into Wales. There's things like the M4 relief roads, which is the Labour Party have ditched. Very, very important for the Welsh economy. Things like the Dinas Powys bypass road has been quashed. Even up in North Wales, there's projects which have been laid to one side in favour of green and cycle lanes, etc. So we would help to boost the economy in Wales by real jobs, by investing in real jobs. Also, we would look at the poor performance of the NHS and the education services, and we try and lift the performances with targeted interventions and real important steps to improve things. And then the working man in Wales, the average man in Wales, just wants to work hard and to look after his family. He doesn't want to be taxed to the hilt, doesn't want to pay massive rate of tax, and he doesn't want his money wasted on politically correct nonsense and immigration, asylum seekers coming in to Wales, making Wales a nation of sanctuary, wasting money on politically correct agendas, woke thinking, liberal idealists. There's money wasted in Wales. It could be targeted on the people and on jobs and development. That's what I would bring to the Senate.
Okay, well done. Thank you very much. Now we can. Now I can calm down now. How you getting on? How you getting on with your ETA?
Well,
getting
yeah, the
on?
Elvis world. Yeah, I mean, in a way, I sort of drifted into politics a bit because the music side of my life is like a lot of us singers, has gone to a standstill. So it's a shame, really. But yeah, things are on the up, and we can see now a little bit of light, and we think we will all be back soon. And obviously, it's summer, isn't it? In Wales, we're a little bit behind England. England, I believe, there's pubs are going to be open on May the 14th, 12th, and 14th. In Wales, it's going to be the end of May, so probably going into the beginning of June. So that bank holiday at the end of May, I'm hoping we can have a little Elvis weekend, a bit of music, live music. Now, what they're going to allow is difficult, Steve, because certain people have said they got these vaccine passport ideas now. So a pub may only be allowed to have like half his people in, or even a club or a theatre.
Right.
And even if you've got a vaccine passport, now if a pub has only can only afford to have, if they can only have half the crowd, they're not going to make the money. It may not be viable to put on music. So I'm a bit concerned that the governments are going to be too slow to let us go back to a full scenario where we can have a full pub, a full club. That's what we want. And let's hope in June. Obviously, infection rates and the way the vaccine rollout goes is important. But I'm hoping that by come June, then the first Elvis event is going to be in Blackpool in July. I think it's July the 21st. I'm an Elvis fan, as you know, Steve.
Mm.
And then, of course, there's a number of other events around that time. There's one in Bristol, I believe, before that.
Four happening this year or not?
Off call, yeah. As far as we know, it's going to go ahead. It's going to be difficult, Steve, because 35,000 people. How are you going to check all their vaccine passports? You're not going to do it, are you? And there's going to be so much difficulty for people. And if they're going to put the onus onto the pub owners and the landlords to check everybody's passports, it ain't going to work in port call or number, even like the festival. I don't know how they're going to do it. I think, to be honest, it's a good idea. I think for theatres where you're selling 300 tickets, everyone has to have a vaccine passport. I think that's logical. For a 6 month, I don't like the idea personally of vaccine passports for a long term. That is state control, and that's an infringement on our liberty. But for a 6 month period, I think I'd be happy to say, come into the show next week, buy your ticket, show us your vaccine passport. I think that's a logical step. It's not ideal, but it's better than no singing, no music, no entertainment till next year. That would be awful. We've suffered enough for the entertainment and hospitality,
Yeah. I feel sorry for you lot, I really do. And
Well, yeah, I'm lucky I got another job, so it hasn't affected me financially as much. I've lost some money, obviously, but
yeah,
some
but
guys are really struggling now.
yeah, there's some people out there who it's their full-time job, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's right. If it's your full-time job, you haven't worked for over a year now. It's crippling.
Yeah.
But I mean, vaccine passports is a bit of a sore throat. Some people don't like the idea of it, but at the end of the day, Steve, if you were going to a show, I mean, have you had your jabs? Haven't you? You've had one, I think.
I've had one. I've got another one to come.
Yeah, so if you were coming to an Elvis show or something in Western-super-Mare, all you do is bring your little card, or I think it's going to be on your phone, isn't it? It's going to be on your mobile phone.
On your phone, yeah.
And then you take your phone, you show them that you've had your jab, or if you don't want a jab, which some people, for medical reasons can't have a jab, can they? And some people don't want it for their own reasons. Then you have to have a COVID test. So then you have a certificate saying that you've had a COVID test that week. Now I think that's reasonable, Stephen. Would I be prepared to go and see a show? I would be prepared to show my pass. It's not a problem, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh.
I see that at this moment in time that the Elvis ETAs have got new Elvises coming in nearly every day now, aren't they?
It's surprising, isn't it? It's one of the great things about singing live at home. I think it's encouraged a lot of people to get up and have a go, and I think that's fantastic. Some people who are too nervous or perhaps not in a position to perform in front of an audience into a pub, it's still sometimes difficult to break into as a singer. Because you can set up your equipment at home, and often the sound's good, There's some great new singers come on board, and it's a bit of a threat to us oldies actually, because when it comes back to the pubs opening, there's going to be all these new people. All power to them, really, isn't it? If somebody has got the balls to get up and sing in front of their live audience, on the phone. Okay, so yeah, all good. So it's going to be interesting in the next year or so to see new people. Great, especially in the Elvis world, when you see youngsters getting involved with Elvis, and there's some great young people now, young lads who are
Yeah.
getting, and a few girls as well. So it's really
The
good.
last,
So
the last, the last question, and I'll let you go.
yeah, yeah.
Are you prepared to sing your way by wearing an Elvis costume to sing your way into government?
This is a problem, isn't it? I mean, I've got some dubious videos on YouTube exactly from when I first started, and I'm looking a bit silly, and wearing my Elvis
Yeah,
dodgy wig.
you better take them off.
I don't know, yeah, but no, I mean, I would hope that
It
people
might go
can
in the
see
paper,
the separate sort of thing, isn't it? And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's a small. I got about a 20% chance of getting the big job in the Senate, and it'd be great if I get it. But obviously, then my music career would have to go just as a hobby, really. But yeah, I could sing. I'd be the first singing prime minister. You never know.
Paul, thank you very much for joining me. Sorry for, it's short and sweet, but
No, sorry about that. I got family round. It's a
yeah,
Easter Sunday, isn't it? I got my girls, my
yeah.
two lovely daughters, come to see me. So it suited me just to have a 30-minute chat. I haven't spoken to you for a while, Steve, have I?
No, you
So
haven't.
no, and it's always good to keep in touch. You do some great work there on the podcast and that.
Yeah.
And anyone who wants to speak to me about politics or Elvis, I'm always open. My door's always open.
Anyway, good luck to the elections. We hope that you do get in.
Yeah.
And if you do get in, put the petrol down a little bit because it's a bit expensive at the moment.
Okay.
All right then.
Okay.
See you later.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
All the best. See you, Steve. Bye bye.
Bye. That was Paul Campbell and Elvis ETA, and going to be a politician for the UKIP. Anyway, there you go, guys. Short and sweet. But thank you very much for joining me. Have a good day. Bye.